Alright guys and girls, before we start kicking off this week's episode of the podcast, I thought it'd only be best to plug this upcoming event this Sunday, November 12th at the Dovercourt Caravan Park in Harwich. The Wrestling League presents Overboard, which consists of a stacked card filled with talent, filled with some of the best wrestlers in the southeast of England, in Britain at the moment. You've got yourself the guest of today's show, Draven versus Harry Mant, an up-and-coming superstar. You've got Lewis Howley versus Savvy Sid. I mean, that's worth the entry just alone. And not only that, you've got a 40-man, not a 30-man. I was excited about a 30-man. I'm even more excited about a 40-man, even though it's going to be 39 other dudes a lot better than me. But heck, I'm going to try and stand out and put a shift in. But I'm looking forward to this one, guys. I urge you to go take a look at the event, check it out, see if you can make it. It's going to be one hell of a show, one not to miss. You've got 40 superstars. You've got me debuting in a Rumble. Drama here as well. I've ordered my boots about 3 weeks ago. Are my boots going to turn up in time? Am I going to look professional, or am I going to look sloppy? But guys, don't make it for me, don't come for me, come for wrestling, because this is one hell of a show. And I've been down there, and I told you, I hyped up about the School of Slam wrestling school down there before, and I know some of the guys are going to be on this card, so I guarantee you, this is going to be one of those events, one of those kind of landmark events. It's going to get people talking. This is great for wrestling, and I urge you to get yourself a ticket, because it's one not to be missed. Check it out. The Wrestling League presents Overboard, the Overboard Rumble at Dovercourt Caravan Park, Harwich, this Sunday, November 12th. Check it out. But apart from that, let's carry on with this week's show.
Welcome to Wrestling with Success, the best and only podcast for the wrestlers of tomorrow. Please welcome your host, Nigel? Oh, right. Your host and future champion, Neil McMillan.
Yeah.
So, guys and girls and wrestling fans worldwide, welcome to episode 21 of the Wrestling with Success podcast. And this episode, I've managed to get one of the most sought-after talents in the southeast of England. A highly intelligent and vicious individual with a true disdain for society and normality. He is Mr. Antisocial. He has wrestled for more wrestling promotions than my mouth is willing to handle. He is a former DOA Adrenaline Champion, a former RCWA Tag Team Champion, and he is the current reigning and defending DOA Heavyweight Champion, SWA Heavyweight Champion, and RCWA Heavyweight Champion. He is a triple heavyweight champion, all the way from his happy place. Ladies and gentlemen, I give to you Draven. Ash, how are you this evening?
I'm good, thank you. Relatively happy, to be honest.
Good stuff. Yeah, you've had a weekend off, haven't you?
I have, yeah. So no shows this weekend, but it's been pretty hectic leading up to this weekend. So it's quite nice to have that little bit of a chill out. I still went to the gym this morning and did a couple of hours there. So I haven't done nothing, so to speak. I've just taken a little bit time off.
Nice to have a little break.
Yeah, always.
And then straight back into it next week.
Yeah, next week I've got one show on Sunday. That's for the debut match at the Wrestling League in Harwich.
Yeah, that's actually my debut show. That one. I'm one of the. Well, at first I was one of the 30th, and I thought maybe I have a chance. And then all of a sudden, 40-man Rumble. I'm one of the participants in that. So yeah, I'll be looking forward. You're up against Harry Mant, aren't you?
Harry Mant, and I believe I've got a Rumble spot as well. I think.
Oh wow! Okay, nice.
So yeah, double duty.
Oh nice. Well, be kind. Be kind to me.
Yeah. Well, with 40 people in there, there's a good chance we won't.
We won't know where we're coming or going. Yeah. Well, so Ash, first of all, thank you for taking the time out to speak with us all today. It means a lot. Someone so far along your journey as well to come back and speak to us. So, I mean, Ash, where did it all start for you in terms of wrestling?
As a fan or as a wrestler? I mean, as a fan, I was growing up when wrestling was really hot, I guess, when I was in sort of year 7, year 8. So that was around 98, 99, that kind of period. So I was an adolescent in the Attitude Era. So wrestling was kind of everywhere. So when I went in secondary school, basically wrestling was the in thing. So if you didn't like wrestling at that point in time, you were a little bit odd. As opposed to now, when if you like wrestling, you are odd. But yeah, so I started watching it really religiously around that time. But my earliest memories of watching wrestling was a few years earlier. I believe my family had just got like cable TV, which was a thing back then. This would have been in the early 90s, and I was about 3 or 4 years old. And I couldn't sleep one night, and I came downstairs, flicked the TV on, and wrestling happened to be on. And there was I don't think it was live, I think it was a clip package of WrestleMania 6, which would have been Warrior and Hogan clip was on. So, yeah, that kind of, I always remember seeing that and being kind of enthralled by it, the sort of lights, the action, the colours, all those things. So, but after that, it kind of went away until, as I say, 97, 98, 99 rolled round, and everyone was talking about wrestling. So yeah, that's kind of how I got into it as a fan. In terms of actually wrestling, and I don't condone this, or I don't sort of say you should do this. But I started wrestling with my friends.
Nice.
One of my friends had a wrestling ring in his garden when he was about, I think it was a 14th birthday present or a 13th birthday present, something like that. And I was a little bit older, I was a few years older, but I knew who he was through a family friend, and I, offered to help them film the shows that they were putting on, just these kids playing in the back garden. And then I ended up getting roped into wrestle, and that was 10 years ago, and I'm still wrestling.
Oh, so, wow. It started off in a backyard ring. I bet that kid was one of the most popular kids at school.
A very, very well-known wrestler now, so it didn't do him too much harm.
Oh, wow. No, it's good. So, I mean, you were a wrestling fan in the boom period there, with the Rock, Stone Cold, the Attitude. Who stood out to you as the main wrestler?
At the time, my favourite wrestler at that particular time was Kane.
Okay, yeah.
Just because he was legitimately scary, more so than probably anyone else at that point. And then slightly after that, my favourite shifted to Triple H, when Triple H first did his sort of singles run at the top of the card, so as the WWF champion in sort of late 99, early 2000s, when he had the street fight at the Royal Rumble with Cactus Jack. That was one of my favourite matches as a kid. So yeah, Triple still my favourite now to this day.
Triple H, yeah. I mean, that was one of my first. I remember staying up Channel 4. It was for this Royal Rumble, and that was the first real one. I didn't really know what it was, and then stayed up, watched that, and yeah, that pay-per-view, it still stands out now. I don't know whether that's just because it's my first one, or because it was actually that. I think it was actually the whole pay-per-view from top to bottom was pretty damn good throughout the whole thing.
The opening match on that pay-per-view was the Hardys and the Dudleys in a tag table match.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah,
out the stands. So they set the bar quite high to start off with.
Yeah, and they had what was it? Taz's debut against Angle as well, and then I'm trying to think what was Bob Holly, Jericho, Chyna, even that triple threat match. That was an awesome match as well.
Yeah, and then you had that was when at the time Jericho and Chyna were the co-holders of the Intercontinental title, and Jericho.
Oh yeah, I completely forgot about that.
Outright, and then you had I think the tag title match was the Acolytes versus the New Age Outlaws.
Yeah.
And then
I like it, man. I want to watch it now. You got me.
And then you had some Miss Rumble debacle thing where Mae Young.
Oh, Mae Young.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's when we all saw Mae Young's boob.
Oh yeah. Yeah, they didn't do a very good job censoring that, Channel 4, I'm afraid.
No, not at all, not at all. So I mean, so you would say Triple H is your kind of is he someone you kind of model your body of work around, or is it just someone who kind of inspired you to get into wrestling?
I think a little bit of both. I think he inspired me to get into wrestling just because I enjoyed watching him wrestle. I think when I was experimenting earlier on in my quote-unquote career, so dating years back, Triple H was a heavy influence, but I think as I got older and got more into it and took it more seriously, I think it became a part of my wrestling still, but not like I didn't base everything I did on Triple H. There were a few other influences floating around, so people like Shane Douglas from his ECW days when he did like lots of vignettes and promos and stuff. Again, Raven from around that time, and I heard Brandon Croft speaking about Raven on your last podcast, and I was the one that actually told him to watch Raven, Mick Foley, and those kind of guys, because he asked me about it at an IPW show in it was the Fight Nation show still in Canterbury. So yeah, he asked me some advice on promos, and I gave him some people to look at. My current character is, as you mentioned in the very nice little intro there, which I think you read off of my Facebook page.
Your Facebook page is brilliant, by the way. Your Facebook page is literally just spells out everything about you. So if I was a promoter and I saw your Facebook page, you've ticked every box. I know pretty much all I need to know about you.
Yeah, so I based the latest sort of iteration of my character on various things, not just wrestling related, but also from fiction and TV and that kind of stuff. So a wrestling influence would be Brian Pillman when he was doing the loose cannon thing, where you didn't quite ever know what he was going to say. And I actually watched one of his promos from I think it was the WWF, so it was around 96, so not that long before he died. And he was in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and he was talking about Jeffrey Dahmer wanting to consume the state from head to toe. And obviously Jeffrey Dahmer is was a serial killer, a cannibal, you name it. Yeah, nasty piece of work.
Yeah.
So yeah, I based my character on that, on Pillman a lot, but also people like Bill Sykes from Oliver, Alex DeLarge from Clockwork Orange, and as I say, various other fictional characters as well.
Yeah, I know. You got quite a very unique look about you as well. I mean, the little kind of leather waistcoat jacket thing, but it's just, and the stick. Yeah, it all works, man. It all works. It's a great look, great gimmick.
As I say, I've taken elements from different people. So the waistcoat idea came from Sweeney Todd, and obviously there was the Jack the Ripper suspect called Leather Apron as well. So that kind of lent itself to that. The stick idea came from Clockwork Orange because Alex DeLarge has a cane, and also Bill Sykes in Oliver beats Nancy to death with like a club type thing. So yeah, it's just taking little bits and pieces from different people and putting them into one slightly eccentric character.
Oh, it's brilliant. You can tell you're passionate about your character, and you've obviously put a lot of work into to kind of develop it so you can stand out, and it's worked because you stand out as a character as well.
Thank you.
So I mean, where did you start training then? I know obviously you trained in the wrestling ring in your friend's backyard, but obviously where did you go from? Because obviously you would have learnt enough from in there to kind of get a basis, but where did you really hone in your craft and start properly training?
Yeah, so I mean, around that time I was not off. I was going a couple of times to drop kicks at that time as well. When I just started in 2007, that would have been. So yeah, I went to drop kicks a few times. My friend also trained various places, and then taught me basically what he learned. And then I we were doing a sort of one of these shows that we were doing, by which time we was in the Royals Youth Centre at that point. So we'd basically been given access to a local council building to do these shows in, rather than just be in the garden. So that was helpful because obviously, you know, you could do it all year round. You haven't got to worry about the weather and so on and so forth. So so around 2010, early 2010, I think it was February, we had a couple of people come down to one of our shows. I think it was unannounced. I don't remember being told about it beforehand, just to watch. And they turned out to be Greg Burridge and Gary Vanderhorn.
Okay, yeah.
So they
from Lucha London.
Yeah, so they were from Lucha Britannia.
Lucha Britannia.
And they were basically at that point looking to relaunch Lucha Britannia as a regular show. And they were looking for guys they could take from, you know, various wrestling backgrounds, I guess, and mould them. So some raw talent, I guess. So that's what they did, and they took particular interest in three of the guys that were there, to varying success. One of them, a guy called Troy, he never went along to the gallery to train after that. So we didn't see him very much after that. He just kind of lost interest, I guess. The other one really took it seriously and really did well out of it, and is now really well known in wrestling, travels all over the world to do it, so he did really well. And then there was me, and I, as I mentioned, was a few years older than the other lads, so I was kind of just started my proper sort of job and career, and whereas these guys were just coming out of school. So I kind of had to juggle work and wrestling, and work at that time kind of, well, it still does, takes precedence because I needed to earn money and so on. So I went along, did a show for them, trained there for a little bit, but then work got in the way and I couldn't commit to it anymore. So then I just carried on doing what I was doing. Although the quality of the wrestling on those shows got better and better, it wasn't until, when was this, 2016 in the end, I went to Progress. I went to the Proto, which is now Knuckle Lock's gym, and I had to do the beginner's course because I hadn't had a lot of formal training. So to train there, you basically needed to start from the bottom up and work your way up. So I did the beginner's course for them, and it was an 8-week course, and you get graded in 7 different areas. And I think there's 15 or 20 people in my class, if you like, and I was the only person to score 7 out of 7.
Oh wow!
Yeah, so that was quite good. And around that time, or just after that, I got to the point where I was going to stop wrestling anyway. I kind of wasn't really enjoying it anymore because I couldn't think of a gimmick or a character to do, and that was really frustrating because I was not happy with the character I was doing. What
was the character you were doing at the time? Was it just quite a plain character, or was it something a little bit different?
A little bit of an arrogant heel, leather jacket, outspoken. You get the gist, like a bully kind of heel.
Yeah.
And to be honest, it was okay. But after a while, it became one-dimensional, and I couldn't really think of what to do with it to make it different.
Yeah.
So I ended up buying the cane and the black coat in late 2015, I think. But I didn't use it until September of 2016. I didn't think it would work, so I didn't wear it or use it. So I've always had this sort of lack of confidence in my own ability at times. So if I think in my mind something won't work, I won't try it to find out. I'll just assume it doesn't work. So it wasn't until it basically push came to shove, and I decided at the end of 2015 that I would give wrestling one more year, and if I didn't really get anywhere, then I would stop. I started wearing the stick and the cane in September of 2016, so I left it quite late. but by which time I'd won the Adrenaline Division title in DOA. And then in the October, so not long after I wore the cane and coat for the first time, I won their heavyweight title as well. So that kind of showed me that character would work. And then obviously, as you mentioned, I went on to SWA at the beginning of this year, and then by the July I was their champion, and then I won the RCWA title in September. So yeah, it definitely, the character saved my wrestling, to be honest. If I didn't come up with a character, I would have quit 18 months ago.
Oh wow, it's worked out pretty well then, isn't it? So I mean, what's it like having a championship from 3 different promotions? You got all those at home, or have you got some of them still with them? You got all 3 of them at home?
No, I've got them all, yeah.
I'd wear them every day. I'd have them everywhere.
Yeah.
No, it's good, man. All at the happy place.
All in the happy place, yeah. So
describe the happy place.
the happy place is whatever you want it to be. It's not necessarily a physical location. So when I come up with the idea of the happy place, it was kind of a throwaway comment in a promo. So I was doing this promo for DOA. It was an Adrenaline Division title defense against Ashley Dunn. And ironically, it was the first time I wore the coat and the cane was for that match.
Oh, wow.
And I basically was waiting at home because my wife was in Rio. She went to the Paralympics to watch the Paralympics.
Okay.
So I was at home for a few days by myself, and I had to clear out this cupboard that I had in my flat at the time. It was like a walk-in cupboard thing, storage cupboard. And I cleared it out because I was expecting a freezer to be delivered. So I just had this empty space, and I found it quite interesting because it had like pipes and stuff and exposed concrete walls and all this kind of stuff. And I thought, it'd be quite a nice setting for a promo. So I spent about 2 hours in this cupboard by myself in the dark with just the light on my phone on, just cutting promos for 2 hours. Brilliant. Over like different promos for different promotions. And in one of them, I mentioned here in my happy place. And then when I got to the event, obviously the promo had been seen by the promoter and various other people. And they basically told me that I should be billed from the happy place. But I never intended the happy place to be a physical place. It was always a sort of state of mind.
Yeah.
So you go into yourself and find a happy place where you are content and you are kind of at ease, rather than dealing with all the stresses and that you deal with in everyday life.
Oh, I like it. I like it. It builds on that mystique as well when you mean about that happy place, I think, as well. So I think, it works. I like it. So, I mean,
it's also good that I can cut promos anywhere and still claim to be in the happy place.
That's true, yes. It gives that extra dimension. Yeah. And one other thing as well that I saw, not only just reading off your Facebook, I did my my research as a really shit journalist, and looked at some of your matches on YouTube as well. One thing as well, that switchblade, that finish of yours, I like it. It looks nasty as well, but it looks. I haven't seen that type of finish before. It looks good.
Yeah, I would love to say I came up with that, but I didn't. It was kind of, I adopted it from a guy that used to do Backyard before I started. It was around 2004, 2005. And I think his name was Christian, and he wrestled as the Doctor of Destruction up in Bedford. And yeah, he had this move, and I basically I was doing a show in 2014, and I just turned to the guy I was in the match with when we were planning it, and I said, I want to do this move, and it really went well, and yeah, it kind of stuck. And then I decided to make it my finish because my finish at the time was a hammerlock DDT.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
The Death Trap DDT. But I still use that at SWA, but it's like I almost have 2 finishes, really.
Yeah.
But the Switchblade is the one that people kind of remember more because it is different.
Yeah, it's that little bit more of a powerful move, and you can see, so it's watching it is really good finish. I mean, you mentioned as well about the balance of working, being a little bit older and actually having to work, and not only that as well, you're married, you've got yourself a wife as well, and I know personally for myself, that's one thing that is one of the hardest things for me in wrestling, is the fact of being able to balance the fact of being a worker who earns money full time and having to pay wages, to then having to then go ahead and turn that side of your brain off to then try and perform and be a wrestler. So I mean, how do you try to keep the balance between keeping the wife happy and obviously going out on the road and doing shows?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like Monday to Friday, I work in an office. 4 days a week at least, I try to go to the gym. Then I'm wrestling at least once a weekend, if not both days of the weekend. But my wife is a high-level netball player, so she plays like county-level netball.
Okay.
So she's out netball, or training 3-4 times a week anyway. So to kind of keep the peace with that, obviously when I can, I meet her from training, or we go out or something like that. We make sure we have a nice holiday. I make sure I take some time off throughout the year, so I don't accept bookings, so we can go away. But I think she's much happier now that I'm actually doing it properly than what I was doing before. Because obviously I'm now wrestling guys that are more trained. Obviously there's a little bit of money in it, and it's a safer environment to do it in, rather than what I was doing a few years ago, where you'd have guys come in, they've just learnt a bump, but then you throw them in a match just to see how they get on. And
exactly that. Yeah, guys like me who haven't fully been out, who's still green as anything. But so I mean, what would you say are the main things for these people? Have just learned for one bumps and stuff like that. What are some main training tips and advice you'd give to new trainees trying to learn wrestling?
Obviously, don't do what I did. Go to a training school. There are lots of them about now. When I started, there weren't so many, but it's not really an excuse not to go. If you want to do it, then go to a school. Go to Knuckle Locks. Go to London School of Lucha Libre. Go to EWW Academy. Obviously, depending where you are, SWA has an academy as well. So there are lots of training schools available to you, so make use of them. If you can travel, then go to guest seminars with guys that have achieved great things. Obviously, when you have imports coming in to do big shows, they often do a seminar before, so make use of those. But also people like Marty Jones does a lot of seminars as well, and that's a wealth of experience, 30 years plus experience in wrestling. So yeah, just anything and everything wrestling that you can get your hands on knowledge-wise, just take it. Accept criticism. Be humble. Don't think you're better than you are. Wait for other people to tell you you're good rather than think you're good.
Solid advice. Good stuff. So, I mean, what would you, Ash Draven, what would Ash Draven now say to the very first Ash Draven who first walked into Knuckle Knocks, or the first one who thought, now's the time I'm going to become a wrestler? What advice would you give? The
one that walked into Knuckle Locks was only about 2 years ago. If the current Ash Draven said because I haven't changed my wrestling name at all, it's just stayed the same throughout 10 years. If I was to say to the original Ash Draven, I don't think I would do anything differently, because I've met a lot of people the way I chose to do it. One of whom was the best man at my wedding.
Oh, wow.
Another one was an usher at my wedding. I've known these guys for 10 years and they're like my best friends. So in that sense, I wouldn't change it, because then I wouldn't know them. My wife is also the cousin of one of the wrestlers from back then. So I wouldn't necessarily know her either. So it's kind of, from a wrestling standpoint, yes, it wasn't the right way to go about it. But from a personal standpoint, I've now got a group of friends that I've had for 10 years. My wife, So
no
I
regrets.
think no, not really. I mean, if I was to say anything, I'd say if you want to be a wrestler properly, then go to training more regularly. Don't rely on what you're learning. The way you're currently learning it. And probably I would have started earlier because I was 21 before I started even doing that. So I'm 31 now. So if I would have started, a few years earlier, I might have been a little bit ahead of the game. And I didn't start taking it seriously until I was 28, 29. So yeah, so that's probably what I would have probably done it a bit more seriously sooner. Would have probably been the only thing I would have done differently.
Yeah, I mean, I see all these, a lot of the trainees and everything that I train with and people that I've met, they're so young, and I just think, and they always try to rush, and not rush, but try to leap and jump and before they've even started to learn to walk, and I just think to myself, just you've got so much time, just take your time and you can do something great. Like, have patience, and then, like, because I know I'm clawing for as much time as I can get, and just trying to do it the best way I can in such a short space of time.
What a lot of the younger wrestlers don't realise is, or what they think they're invincible, so they'll do things that maybe to us are, that's a little bit risky or dangerous or whatever. And I've seen this with the guys I grew up with, and I've seen it, on the scene as well. And I think a lot of that is to do with the culture of wrestling now. I think it's a lot less about the gimmicks and the characters as such as putting on the best match on the card. So I've always been of the opinion that the psychology of the match is more important than the bumps in the match. But a lot of people don't see it that way, including some of my friends. So I think the younger guys tend to want to impress, and they think the way to impress is to do these intricate or crazy spots. And yes and no. I mean, if it's done well, then great. If it doesn't go so well, then it's going to hurt. So
yeah, exactly that. Well, Ash, that is it for the professional wrestling side of you. But Ash, now it's fan time. Cue the shitty little jingle that I have. Ash, this is quick fire questions to get your answers as a wrestling fan. Question number 1. What is one wrestler that you would like to bring back to your happy place, to join you in your happy place, if you had one chance?
That's good. I'd say Will Ospreay.
Will Ospreay, in your happy place. Which I saw a match as well on YouTube, and that's also, to the listeners, I'd say, and it was, I'm not sure how long ago it was or what promotion it was, but it was an outstanding little match that the two of you had as well. I think it just showed the highlight clips of it as well, but your match against him on YouTube, and it was an outstanding little match. I sat and watched it, and I was like, wow.
Did it have a yellow canvas?
I think it did. It was quite a short match, short ring.
Yeah, it's probably RCWA from 2013.
2013, but yeah, no, wow, what a show. What a match.
Yeah, that was a 30-minute match, I think, condensed into 4 minutes on that video.
Oh, really?
That's the one I'm thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it was a great match. It was a great match. So, I mean, that's one wrestler for your happy place. What's one wrestler in the world that you really want to hit that switchblade finish on?
That's a good question. Anyone in the world?
It could be a celebrity. It could be your wife. But if you're a wise man, it shouldn't be your wife.
I wouldn't dare.
Exactly.
I wouldn't dare. I'd say Adam Cole.
Adam Cole, baby.
I think he'd take it really well.
Good. What's the best wrestling feud ever? Great, from the build-up all the way up to the payoff match.
I think it's got to be Rock and Austin.
Yeah, it does. Well, which one though? Which one are we talking?
The one leading WrestleMania 17.
The 17 one. Which one's 17?
Yeah.
Which one's 17?
It's the one with the Limp Bizkit My Way.
Oh my god! You don't know how many times I watched that promo video My Way on VHS. It was easily one of the best promo videos for any match.
It's the best video package I think they've ever done.
Yeah.
I also like the other one that was really good was Jericho and Shawn Michaels. Was it Jericho? Yeah, Jericho and Shawn Michaels.
Oh yeah, is that where he punched his wife or something? And
he punched his wife, threw him into the TV, and yeah, that one was really good as well.
No, that's good. So one match that you would recommend everyone should watch to learn, and it's got the whole nuts and bolts and everything in it to make a great wrestling match.
I really, really liked Tyler Bate and Pete Dunne from TakeOver.
Yeah, that was an incredible match.
From a wrestling point of view, I think from a psychology point of view, anything with Jake Roberts.
Yes.
Any of his earlier run, anyway. Not obviously the drunken run at the end, but the early Jake Roberts WWF stuff was, mind blowing.
Yeah. So, what wrestler would you headline WrestleMania with if you had one opponent?
Yeah, it's got to be Ospreay.
Ospreay. Draven Ospreay. Well, from what I saw of that match, I'd quite happily sit there and watch that.
I had my first ever match against him. He was the best man at my wedding.
Oh, really?
Yeah. It would have to be that, yeah.
Oh, wow. Oh, fair enough. So, I mean, where do you see yourself in 5 years' time, then? What does the future hold for Ash Draven?
I don't know, really. I mean, 5 years, I'll be in my mid-30s, so, I haven't got any kids at the moment, but I'd imagine that by that point I might have. So, I think once that happens, I think it'll be a case of reflecting on how well I've done. If I've not got like a contract or anything like that, or some sort of guaranteed money, then it might be a case of having to cut back a little bit, spend more time at home. But I think it depends on circumstances, and it depends on how my body's holding up as well.
Yeah.
For the most part, it's quite good at the moment, but you never know. A few rough bumps and injuries and that.
Yeah, exactly
so
that.
It's hard to tell.
Good. It's a very wise and a very mature head you're having on your shoulders, so it's good advice as well. No, it's not, because I didn't want to say that, Ash. I didn't want to say I'm old too. I'm right there with you. All right, we can't say that. We're just a little bit more experienced and mature. We mentioned earlier about that you're on the Wrestling League Overboard show next week in Harwick. Overboard on November 12th, and you're going 1-on-1 with Harry Mant, who is another hot and up and coming commodity as well. So I'm looking forward to that one. So any tips for this Rumble? For a trainee?
It depends what number you get.
I'm hoping it's one and done, but I'm yet to find out. No, I'm looking forward to it. But
want to stay in it, don't go over the top rope.
Yeah, that is the main aim.
Do what Road Dogg did in the, I think it was a 2001, where he just sort of laid on the ground and just held the bottom rope.
Yeah, I watched their Overboard Rumble on YouTube last year just to kind of get a flavour of it, see if there's anything I can do to kind of stand out or anything. And there was a guy doing it, and I was like, damn, I was going to do that spot, but I think with 40 other people, there's bound to be everyone with the same ideas. So it's just trying to stand out from that.
I did a Rumble once for FPW, so that's Future Pro Wrestling, based in Surrey, and I think it was my first, other than the Lucha show that I did, I think it was one of my first shows. This would have been 2014 maybe, and I was in the Rumble, and I think I was only in there 2 minutes, but in those 2 minutes I punched Rockstar Spud. So that's my
claim.
Yeah,
I like that.
Rock. And I think I got thrown out by Sebastian or someone.
Yeah.
Someone like that.
Well, I mean, what other shows you got upcoming as well? What are you up to for the rest of the year?
So I've got a couple of DOA shows coming up. There's one at the end of the month. I think it's the 26th, 27th, something like that. So that's in Cambridge. So I'm wrestling Peter Nixon, which is a little bit of a feud there. So to give you a background on that, when I became the Adrenaline Division champion at DOA, I didn't actually win the belt. I stole the belt.
Oh, right.
So I stole it from him, and then a week later, he broke his arm in a match at WAW. So he was out for 6 months. Really badly broken arm. So I got awarded the belt by default kind of thing, and then I held it for like a year, including a title defense against him that ended in a no contest. So now this is for the heavyweight belt because I've lost the adrenaline belt without getting pinned. So yeah, that's coming up. Then I've got another one of their shows on the 23rd of December. So a Christmas show in Ipswich.
Okay.
I've got RCWA, the 10-year anniversary of RCWA on the 16th of December. Now, if that goes to plan, that will be 700 seats.
Wow.
Yeah. And that RCWA is the promotion that started in the back garden.
Oh, is it really? What, the guy with the ring?
Yeah.
And that's where it all started?
That's where it started.
Wow.
And the guy with the ring is the guy that I've mentioned on this podcast a couple of times already.
Who, Osprey?
Yeah.
Oh, see, now you're making me look like a bad journalist. I'm just finding all these things out on the fly, on the cuff.
Yeah.
But no, well, there you go. Oh,
yeah,
brilliant.
So I haven't done him any harm. I mean, he doesn't like to put focus on that, so I didn't.
Yeah,
really
no, that's fair enough. No, that's absolutely fair enough.
But yeah, we're doing the 10-year show, so that's quite a big deal for us to go from the sort of humble beginnings of some friends just hanging out to potentially 700 seats. Is a big deal.
Yeah, no, it's gone full circle.
Fairly open for the latter part of this year. I don't think I've got too many other shows going on. Not that I can think of off the top of my head. Anyway, I've got SWA. I have got SWA on the 2nd of December. I know that because it clashes with one of the DOA shows, but I'd already been booked at SWA before, so...
Well, thank you, Ash. It's been a pleasure, and it means a lot that you can take the time out to speak with us all today.
No worries.
It really means a lot, and the fact you're willing to kind of give back to us all still kind of learning and training means a lot. So thanks again. And hopefully, no doubt, I'll see you at some point next week as well. I'm looking forward to actually sitting down and watching your match. It's a pleasure to actually meet you face to face. Hopefully, I don't punch you in the face in Ash Draven. Hopefully, you don't punch me in the face in that.
Carry a walking stick with me, so if you hit me in the face.
No, it would be an honour to be thrown out by you, sir. So
people seem to like to punch, so you'll be
No, not at all. No, it'll be. I'm looking forward to meeting you next week, and we'll have some fun next week. But anyway, guys, that's it from this week. Thanks again for following my journey, listening to this show, and guys and girls, I look forward to wrestling a match with you all soon, potentially. So I will speak to you all next week.
Yeah.
Thank you again for listening, and people, I need your help. I would love it if you could pop over to iTunes to leave this podcast a review. Your reviews are so important to me. I need to understand what you think of the show, and it helps just raise awareness for everyone else on this show. And not only that, guys, if you have a friend or a relative who you know is an avid wrestling fan, please point them in this podcast's direction.